there's so much confusing narratives out there. The world is like, I don't know, the information age has brought about obviously the abundance and immediate access to information, but it's also brought about a confusing, head spinning. It's difficult to sift through what is the truth now. So I think we should be, as Bitcoiners, very vigilant about narratives and stuff, and that's part of why I'm questioning Bitcoin, is because, you know, I want to now question everything. I want to sort of check it against my own understanding of things, like I said earlier. And it's very easy to fall into a trap, I think, of just seeking out only things that I agree with, because that's the easy thing to do, right? It's easier for me just to sort of confirm my own bias rather than actually go through the difficult and sometimes painful truth of admitting to myself that I might have been wrong. And I think that we should really embrace the fact that we should relearn and actually embrace that as an opportunity for us to see the world through a different lens. And that's the Bitcoin lens, right? And that provides me the incentive to seek out truth in some way. But I'm curious, Robin. I don't know if you experience this, and obviously you're the one questioning me, right? But I don't know whether you've agreed with much about what I've said, and I invite you to come back and tell me if you think in different ways. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I think sometimes we're in danger when we're recording podcasts, is like just agreeing or not actually challenging people. And I think we should do more of that. And, you know, rather than going around and just agree, hold a mirror up to them just as much as we should hold a mirror up to ourselves, right? So I'm just wondering what you think about that.
Yeah, it's an interesting, because I had already like at least 5-6 guests on where they have raised a point in the middle of the discussion where I disagreed to a really big, like usually with Bitcoiners, I'm agreeing a lot. Like I usually, especially in the beginning, I reached out to people that I already knew. So when you know people and you know what to ask them, control the questioning part, there's not usually not a big debate going on there. But there are sometimes the point where I have to decide, do I want to make it a podcast where I explore this discussion, where I want to challenge people, or I think Lex Friedman, you know the podcast, he always also makes a disclaimer in front of the podcast where he says, sometimes the guest says something I disagree with, but I want to explore his opinion. And that's why I'm usually not challenging him. Like something along these lines, he says is way better than me. But he's saying basically he's not challenging them at the moment to explore what he is thinking. Because sometimes I also think that when we discuss too much, as I said in the early, when the discussion is like too heated, too much, then we might have the trap of like just proving each other wrong. Like just shitting on each other. Like there's a balance to it where you have to question the guest so his thinking comes out and the listener can see for themselves, or do I like this opinion or not. And I usually take the more passive approach, to be honest, to be like, I want to ask them. And there was those few steps along the way. I made a podcast with British Hoddle. If you saw it, I disagreed with some points with him. I made recently a podcast with a gold bug that also has Bitcoin. Like he has like a hybrid version, but he still has a little bit more gold than Bitcoin. I disagreed with him a lot, but I wanted to find out why they're thinking like that, what they are going through. The other route is like questioning him a lot and debating him. Like there's a fine balance to find and coming through the truth. But as you said, it's a hard thing to do because it's easy to fall in the trap, especially with the feeds, no matter where you are. And it doesn't matter if you're on Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, or wherever. There's always a feed that feeding you stuff which you interact with. If you're not interacting with stuff, They're not
Yes.
feeding it because it does not keep you on the platform. So the algorithms are designed that way that you interact with them. So there's a confirmation bias programmed into those things, and it can lead to a society that is completely asleep and is not questioning themselves. Oh, what is this Bitcoin thing actually? Is it actually wasteful for the environment? Is actually like all those FUDs that do you actually question them? Like, and that's an interesting thing because
it's true.
That's maybe also one reason, and I don't know if you also see it that way. One reason why so many people are asleep and don't question money.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you make very interesting points. And look, with rabbit hole stories, for example, we rarely challenge people because it's their rabbit hole story. We want to know, you know, how they see the world through this Bitcoin lens, and we don't challenge much in that. We've started to put out episodes that are just me and Joel talking. We put one out recently, and this is then the opportunity for us to, you know, give our sort of perspective on things and be a little bit critical and challenging of some of the things that we've seen as well, and sort of inject our sort of mindset into it as well. So we're kind of wanting rabbit hole stories to evolve, if you like, not only just to become people's rabbit hole stories, but then for me and Joel, once we've been on these different journeys, to sort of take all that information in and then sort of like absorb it as and review that and then come out with our own kind of ideas about the sort of narratives in the space and what we think about that. So I think, you know, that's what we're trying to focus on. But you make an interesting point about algorithms and things like that, and that's something we certainly should be mindful of. And it's an easy trap to fall into with the stuff that you engage with, because these social media platforms want to keep you on their platforms for as long as possible, right? Because they're in competition with other social networking platforms, right? So the algorithms are designed to keep you engaged. And if you're engaged in constant arguments, but that's what keeps you on there, they're going to make sure that you get fed that kind of stuff. If you're, you know, it's trying to give you what it is that it thinks that you want. And I think we should be mindful of that when we're engaging on X, for example, or anywhere we go, is because, you know, even on YouTube, for example, I might have watched a video and all of a sudden I'm getting sort of other videos that are a similar kind of tone and thread to that. And I'm like, I only just wanted to watch that one video. Why am I getting all this other stuff? So it's definitely something we should be thinking about for sure.